Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name's Travis.
And I'm Patrick, here for kind of a ominous occasion, unfortunately.
Yeah, a little
up front.
Yeah, we'll get the sadness out of the way up front, and then hopefully laugh about some stupid characters afterwards.
It's what I do best.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about should say Sir Sean Connery, who recently passed, and then we'll lighten things up with some character reviews. But it probably comes as a surprise to no one that Sean Connery passed away on October 31st, so on Halloween, a few weeks ago as of this recording, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about Mr. Connery since then. So, but yeah, passed away at the age of 90.
Good run. I
think so.
Easy for me to say here, sitting at late 30s.
Right. Yeah. I read that he went like in his sleep, peacefully surrounded by family. He was kind of vacationing down in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Just basically to feel better. I guess he hasn't felt great lately, so they went down to the Bahamas just to kind of, be in some sunshine and whatnot, and yeah.
Yeah, it was I think the last movie he was in was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, well, and then he did a voice
work.
Yeah, in some Scottish dragon movie, Sir something. I'm not sure.
It's weird because I think of him obviously first and foremost as James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think of him as Indiana Jones's dad.
Right.
And then in the 90s, he had a weird renaissance where he was sexy.
Oh yeah,
for some reason.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, he was in his 60s.
Yeah, I'd say
and, sexiest man alive stuff all of a sudden. Where was this 40 years earlier?
Right. Yeah,
it was a wild ride for him, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, he. I think now, I definitely think of him as Bond first, but my probably first exposure to Connery would have been as a surprise cameo at the end of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, when he plays.
That's the last thing I think of.
Really? Yeah. No. Well, that movie was so big in my house, right then. So it was like that and Indiana Jones, kind of a 1-2 punch kind of thing. And my dad watched Hunt for Red October often enough that I definitely remember seeing him a lot, kind of when that was around.
I definitely know his 90s work more than
the
80s.
Yeah. Well, and then stuff like The Rock, that was a huge comeback for him, and then right around
my favorites.
Right around there's when he did Entrapment with Catherine Zeta-Jones, and that's I think when he was right around what you were talking about with the sexiest man alive kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That movie's so ridiculous, but it's a fun caper.
Probably haven't seen it since. But
No, yeah.
I just remember Catherine Zeta-Jones in some weird scene where she's bending in odd directions to avoid the lasers.
Right. That's probably about all anyone remembers of that movie.
It was about it. And finding it odd that Sean Connery was a sex symbol. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Personally, it's going to be, I don't know how to put this, but my uncle thought that he looked like Sean Connery.
Oh, he thought he himself looked like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess in a way that they both were old and had silver hair,
Sure.
and a beard, but that was about it. But forever, it just made me laugh when he would say that he was Sean Connery, just because that's about all they had in common.
Mm.
He was, yeah. I think my uncle enjoyed Sean Connery's sex symbol status more than Sean Connery.
Got a lot of free drinks in that era.
So I was like, hey, ladies. I just pictured him always holding, like, People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive or something, or whatever it was. But, yeah, I mean, that's what Sean Connery was to me. It was like the old, suave, good-looking dude.
Yeah.
He wasn't, like, I didn't see the early Bond stuff until later. Like, I saw, like, snippets, obviously, and then his sort of Bond-esque roles, but I never saw him, like, in his early days.
Yeah.
So he was always old Sean Connery to me. But yeah,
I remember watching him in Highlander, and just there's this ridiculous bit.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, he's he plays a character called Ramirez, and he's like he ends up training, you know, the Highlander himself, Connor McLeod. Connor. But he's like, at one point, Christopher Lambert calls him, you know, a Spaniard or something like that. Because his name is Ramirez, and he is kind of dressed like, I guess, maybe dressed in the fashion of a Spanish, I don't know, warrior.
Conquistador
but
or something?
Not quite, not like the big helmet that you associate.
Okay.
But anyways, he says, Sean Connery's, you know, in his, not even trying to do any kind of accent other than his own, he says, I'm not Spanish, I'm Egyptian. And so you find out that, like, he's this immortal Egyptian guy. So it's just a couple levels of ridiculous.
Wow.
And in a movie where you have Christopher Lambert, again, not trying to do any accent, so with a very French accent, saying that he's Scottish. So it's just several layers of ridiculousness.
Well, it's Highlander. You chop off a head, you get some magic lightning.
Oh, yeah. I love that franchise.
Yeah, it's underrated. I got hooked into the TV show, but
I guess I should clarify. I love that first movie, and I love that series, that TV series.
Yeah. But
that's kind of where I draw the line.
Is that
the other
first
movies.
movie the one with the zipper neck guy, or is that a later one?
Yeah, that's it. With
that's it? Okay.
Clancy Brown, as the Kurgan.
The Kurgan. Yeah, but there's a lot about Sean Connery I didn't know until we started this podcast up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I had no idea he was like Mr. Universe contestant.
Oh, yeah.
Like got third place or something, or
right, yeah.
At least podium. I can't remember what position exactly, but that and like he was a trained like singer and stuff. Like,
I didn't know about that.
Lessons and got into like I think that was like his stepping stone in was like taking dance and singing lessons.
Okay.
And got into some like local Scottish playhouse kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why he gave so much money to the Scottish like arts.
Okay.
Like later in life, because I think he got a huge pay raise in one of the later Bond movies and just donated it all to that group.
Nice.
So he definitely was proud of his country.
Seemed like it. The last times that I really saw him, in media, it was always like him at a tennis event. And that's kind of when you start seeing him. Like, he doesn't look quite, he doesn't have that I don't know, that.
Yeah. I mean, he was 90.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone hits like a certain age and then it's just, it's hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's people like Betty White, couldn't even tell.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, granted, I haven't seen her in forever and she's probably like locked in a bubble right now, but because people would literally just give up if she died this year.
Yeah, that's
But
that one's gonna hit people pretty hard.
the other thing I think of with Sean Connery is the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Really?
Because he's on the dad's Hall of Fame wall of Scottish people.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like Mike Myers' portrayal of his father is just Sean Connery.
Okay.
Like it almost sounds like a Sean Connery impression.
I gotcha.
Like, obviously way overdone. But the fact that Sean Connery is on this wall of Scottish Hall of Fame and it's like 3 people.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's like my guilty pleasure movie. I love that movie.
Okay.
Even though it's like so bizarre. But yeah, I don't know.
That's funny.
One of my Sean Connery memories is just a picture of him on the wall of that movie.
Yeah. I like how they reference him in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the 4th, Indiana Jones movie, where they cut to, I think
like
Indy's talking to, I think it's Jim Broadbent is the character who's kind of playing the Marcus role, and Indy says, like he's about to head out on this new adventure, and he says, I just wish Marcus were here and Dad, and it kind of cuts to Indy's desk, and you see a framed picture of Sean Connery, and so it's a nice way to indicate that the character had passed on in the story some point, because I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Connery had probably retired at that point. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the other?
I wonder when you were talking about the so I married an axe murderer, and you have to wonder if he tried to get Connery to play Austin Powers' father instead of Michael Caine. Like, he had to have reaced out to him. To get him to play the father.
Michael Caine's got to be. I know he's a peer.
Yeah,
he's got to be close to 90 by now too.
Probably, yeah.
So I think they actually ran in the same circles or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. I associate Michael Caine and him for some reason.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because they're not in the U.S.
Right.
But yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
I think the movie I kind of wish Sean Connery was in, and I know it's not exactly the right country, but close, is Kingsman.
Yeah.
Because of Caine.
Sure. Yeah.
I would have I could have seen him in that in some way, like sitting at the table or something.
Yeah.
As one of the head Kingsmen.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I think the last thing I remember hearing him in was like a James Bond video game.
Okay. Yeah. I think there was one
voice acting, and it was weird because it was like supposed to be young Bond.
Right.
But it's like old Sean Connery's voice.
Yeah, I think they did almost like a From Russia with Love era Bond. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I know he's got a lot more filmography than what we've talked, but that's just basically what I know him as.
Yeah. I know he won an Oscar for The Untouchables, but that's one that I've just never taken the time to watch. So I don't know him from probably most of his stuff, but he was a big part, in my household growing up, like I said, with the Robin Hood and Red October and several Indiana Jones and several other movies. And
yeah, it's definitely leaves a hole in our podcast history.
Yeah,
with, the way we started out with so many James Bond movies.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Sean Connery was our pod daddy as far as content goes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he was, because what's his name, George Reeves. He was gone. Obviously, way before we started, and then we had Sean Connery for a while.
But yeah, if you got a glass of scotch, I guess. Cheers. Heck of a run.
Yeah. Shall we move on to hopefully cheerier conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was too bad. It's
No,
not like you were
no.
just like weeping
No,
uncontrollably.
yeah.
It's like, not Sean.
Yeah.
No. It's acceptance. You have
Yeah.
acceptance when somebody's had a long life. It's
definitely a long
not
life.
shocking.
So exactly, yeah. So
all right. So moving on to goofier topics here.
yeah, we'll talk about the IGN top 100 comic book heroes, and I've got
question mark at the end of that.
Yeah, sometimes they're,
heroes.
yeah. Who made this list? So up first, number 72. Okay. We got Luke Cage, probably best known lately for the Marvel Netflix series.
I was thinking of Mortal Kombat for some reason.
Oh,
for a second
yeah.
There.
What's that? Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage, yeah.
Yeah. Luke Cage, also known as Power Man.
It's like the most generic.
It really is. And
was
not
this character like created in the 80s or something?
1972.
Oh, okay.
It
sounds like He-Man or
it
sounds like that era of naming stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think the name Power Man even goes back to some early Avengers comics from the 60s, like 63, 64, and it was like in one issue they created I think it's not Baron Zemo. Maybe it is Baron Zemo. He creates, a character called Wonder Man, who the Avengers fight, and then they use the same technology to create another guy and call him Power Man, who the Avengers then fight and defeat and everything. And then that name, then Power Man, ends up getting used, a decade later for Luke Cage, completely unrelated. I mean, no connection there as far as the characters themselves, but it's a pretty lame name. But first appearance.
Luke Cage is better.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. First appearance was Hero for Hire #1 from June of 1972. So yeah, he's like a kind of a not a mercenary so much, but yeah, he'll help you out of a jam, I guess, but you got to pay him.
So a little different than the Netflix show.
A little bit, yeah. And I know that supposedly Nicolas Cage, the actor, takes his name Cage from this character.
Oh, okay.
So,
the 70s makes sense because I like in the TV show I always got like a 70s like black cinema era.
Yeah, blaxploitation ish,
funky beat to the soundtrack.
For sure, yeah.
So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. He kind of looks ridiculous too in those old comics because he would wear this. Essentially, there's the best way to describe it is a tiara, just this like silver headband. If you look up Luke Cage, 70s Luke Cage or something, you'll see him just with this silver headband on. They even kind of make fun of it a little bit in the Netflix show when they do the flashbacks of him getting his powers. It's like part of the science technology in giving him his powers was like this thing on his head that looked like kind of the thing from the comics.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he had like bell bottoms or a leisure suit on or something.
Bell bottoms probably. It's very likely that he wore bell. I don't know, but always had a yellow shirt and
right.
I don't know what kind of pants he wore, but maybe just I don't know. But he often teamed up with Iron Fist. So that he has that. I wish they would have leaned on that connection a little bit more with the Netflix stuff. I never watched second season of Iron Fist, or did they do a second season of Iron Fist? Maybe I'm getting that wrong. I don't think I watched the second season of Luke Cage, but
Yeah, they came out with so much Marvel stuff at that time that
Yeah.
I got overwhelmed and I just
Yeah.
gave up.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to go back to it. I did watch the first Cage. I haven't watched the second.
Mm.
I haven't even finished that Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I only watched the first season of it.
And I never watched the mashup because I hadn't finished Jessica Jones.
Yeah. Oh, the mashup was pretty good.
Yeah,
I did watch it. So Luke Cage ends up. I know him most from the probably mid 2000s run of Avengers. It was kind of like maybe in 2004, 2005, they had this big event called Avengers Disassembled. And it was just kind of, the team kind of broke up. I think Hawkeye was supposedly killed. Vision was destroyed by She-Hulk. A couple other things happened. And just kind of a breakup of the team. And then a few months later, New Avengers comes out. And it's like the prison that they show at the end of Civil War where it's like out in the middle of the ocean. And it's called the Raft. But it's this Supermax prison. And that's where in the comics they keep like all the supervillains, basically. And there's some kind of breakout in the Raft. And it's just kind of all the heroes that happened to be in the area that responded. It was like Spider-Man, Wolverine, I think maybe Captain America, Luke Cage, maybe Jessica Jones. I can't remember. Miss Marvel, or I guess now Captain Marvel. So it's like this kind of assembly of heroes, and then they like work so well together that they formed the New Avengers. So it was kind of a new Avengers, literally a new Avengers team. And that's where like Spider-Man joins the Avengers. Wolverine was on the Avengers. The Thing. And so Luke Cage was a big part of that run. And you find out that he's married to Jessica Jones. They have a baby daughter together. So part of the story is like them all living in Avengers Tower, which is just kind of just like the movie when Tony Stark kind of gives them a tower to use as their base. So you get some like family dynamics with that. That's really my only real history with Luke Cage. I haven't read a ton of him, but he worked really well in that team. He was kind of one of the leaders of the team. So,
okay. And he's just like, I know he's not invincible, but like,
I think
vulnerable to certain stuff.
Yeah, I think his skin is unbreakable, and and also he has some super strength.
Yeah. But not like over the top super strength.
Like... he's not like Hulk level. I doubt he's Thing level either. But he's probably up there as far as one maybe top 10, maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Now, have you ever seen the show The Boys?
Amazon? Yeah. For sure.
Anytime somebody's invulnerable, I think of that poor diamond skin guy.
Oh, yeah.
That gets the fire, the explosive up his butt.
Oh, man, yeah.
That's such a messed up way to do that. He's indestructible on the outside.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god.
I'm not sure if Luke Cage has that same invulnerability.
Yeah, that's what I went straight to when you said it.
That's funny.
Oh god, I love that show. It's so messed up.
Yeah.
All right. So Luke Cage.
Yeah. I could see him maybe being bumped up a little higher than 72.
Yeah. I wonder. Netflix show would have bumped him up.
Well, and I always forget when this IGN list was put together. So it may predate the Marvel Netflix stuff because the description doesn't say anything about Netflix. Not that they always do, but I know when we talked about Iron Man, I think it mentioned like, the MCU is a big part of his popularity or something like that. So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe move on from Luke Cage to, let's see, number 64. Okay, The Atom.
It's another shrinking guy. Like
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Atom is a DC character. Dr. Ray Palmer. I guess maybe lately best known for the Legend. What's the WB show? The Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. He's the character played by Brandon Routh.
Okay.
He can shrink. But he goes back to showcase number 34, October of 1961, which I would have thought he might have been a little older, but like mid 50s. But I think he just kind of beats Ant-Man as far as like characters that shrink and stuff. So he was around a little bit longer. But
this is weird. I like to look it up in Wikipedia and stuff. It says the Atom is the name shared by 5 fictional comic book superheroes.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. It starts with All American Comics in 1940.
Okay.
The second Atom was the Silver Age Atom, Ray Palmer.
Gotcha.
So, and that was 1961. So it looks like it's a very generic name.
Kinda, yeah.
Quite a few. Because I see a whole slew of people, like 7 people listed.
Wow.
Like Al Pratt, Ray Palmer, Paul Hoban, Adam Cray, Ryan Cho, Rhonda, Adam 1 million. What the fuck? This is so weird.
There was probably DC did like a DC 1 million where it was like set a million years in the future. So it's like, here's what Superman would look like in the future, and here's what the future Batman would be. That's probably what that is.
Gotcha.
Not sure, but that's probably it.
It's such a generic name that I could see this have been being used, for other stuff. So we're specifically talking about Ray Palmer.
Correct. Yeah.
The Silver Age.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know that he has the Ant-Man Giant Man thing where he can go from small to big. I think he may just be. I think he may just be a little guy. And I want to say he's so small or he can become so small that he can ride on electrons and actually travel through telephone wires. Back when there were telephone wires. Or really any kind of electrical wire, but I was kind of like that idea. Yeah.
I bet he's mad now that everything's wireless.
Yeah. It says that he not only is Palmer one of the brightest minds in the DCU, comparable to Reed Richards of Marvel, he was able to use a white dwarf star matter to create a shrinking agent. Yeah, I guess that's how he derived his shrinking powers.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't really have much Atom history. I know he was used in the Dark Knight Strikes Back, which is like the sequel to the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, kind of seminal, graphic novel. But I forget how he was used there. I think like the villain was using the Atom to power some device or something like that. But I have not read much with the Atom in it. So he's been around for a long time, but I don't really have anything other than just surface level details. And I like the portrayal of him on that Legends of Tomorrow show because Brandon Routh is really fun to watch, but they put him in like an Iron Man suit that I don't love. Yeah, I'm good on the Atom.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about a couple Ant-Man, so it's like you got a little late to the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Yeah, he was. I guess he would be higher than Luke Cage if that didn't take Netflix into account.
Yeah,
because I don't think his work as on the Legends of Tomorrow is any better than Luke Cage on Netflix. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we move on? Let's see. Number 96.
Ooh.
Okay. 96, The Falcon. That
Oh,
would
okay.
be like, Captain America's buddy.
Yep.
First,
That's how I know him now, anyway.
yeah, yeah. He's another one, like, he predates Luke Cage. He goes back to Captain America number 117 from September of 1969.
Oh, okay.
He had a ridiculous costume back then. It was like green and yellow. Not that some of his more modern costumes aren't as ridiculous. I like the way they've done him in the MCU, where it's more of a little bit more technical, or mechanical kind of suit that he wears. It's not a full on Iron Man suit, but it's not like, I think his longest run through the late 70s maybe and 80s and 90s always had him in a red and white bodysuit with he'd have like this headpiece that had like a gold beak kind of over his nose. It's okay.
Kinda like
it's not
Hawkman.
not that exaggerated, but
Okay.
it's definitely there. I think they might hint at it with the goggles that Anthony Mackie wears as Falcon, but it's not as exaggerated. But I know in the comics he could actually communicate, or like telepathically communicate with a Falcon. Let's see, yeah, it was his Falcon called Redbird, and so they kind of hinted at that with in Civil War, in the beginning of it, where he had like a little mechanical drone that he could pilot, and that was like the nod to, they weren't going to do in the MCU. They weren't going to do a real bird that he could talk to. So,
missed opportunity.
Yeah. I guess Sam Wilson is his real name, I should say. But I've read a lot of good Falcon and Captain America stories in the, mid to late 2000s. For a while he took over as Captain America, and those were some pretty decent stories. In the Ed Brubaker run of Captain America, when he was kind of just around the Civil War era, there was some good, team up. Like Sam Wilson was his go-to guy. Kind of complicated when they reintroduced Bucky as Winter Soldier. So, yeah. But yeah, I like Falcon. He's I really like the way they've used him in the MCU. I was really excited at the end of Endgame when Cap hands the shield over to Sam.
Oh yeah.
So that moment always kind of gets me. But
yeah, there's I thought there would have been more to come out of that I can't remember if I think it was Civil War, where he basically cripples War Machine.
Oh yeah.
I thought there'd be more to that thread, but it was just I'm good now.
That was Vision that took the shot.
Well, yeah.
Oh, but, okay, that's right, because he was chasing Falcon maybe, and he missed Falcon but hits War Machine. Okay.
What was it?
I think that's how that plays out.
Either that or War Machine was disabled or something by Vision, and then the shot hit him. Something like that. It wasn't on purpose, obviously.
No. Yeah.
It was still him that hit the last shot, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I only knew him from this. I didn't really know.
Okay.
Outside of the MCU, honestly, when I hear Falcon, I think Blue Falcon from Scooby Doo.
Okay.
More than anything.
Huh.
That space superhero with a flying dog.
Yeah, I'm not a big Scooby-Doo guy, so I don't know a lot of that Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah, so I know it from that. Blue Falcon's kind of Space Ghost.
Okay. That sounds vaguely familiar.
But yeah, it's interesting to see how this character will evolve in the next universe. I don't know, what do they call it? Phase 20,000. What are we
Yeah,
on?
I forget which phase we're entering into.
Yeah,
But I
new
know
Avenger phase.
yeah. But we'll get Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus, hopefully next year still if things are on track. So I'm really excited to see what they do with those two characters. Because I think they did have a good dynamic in Civil War and a little bit in Infinity War, I think. They play off each other pretty nicely, though.
It's like the new and the old partner of Captain
Yeah,
America.
yeah, fighting to be his best friend, basically.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah. Do one more.
Sure.
Let's go to number 78. Error 404 not found. That's 778 doesn't exist. Let's try that again. Number 78.
The biggest villain of all. Error 404.
Error 404. Okay, Sergeant Rock.
Oh, absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Sergeant Rock. Oh, please tell me he's like a rock star.
Oh, not quite.
Wrestler?
No.
Oh, damn it.
Sergeant
Military
Rock,
guy.
yeah, military guy. First appearance, Our Army at War, number 81 from April of 1959. Sergeant Rock, I think, he's like the DC version of Nick Fury. Kind of I guess Marvel's Nick Fury is the Marvel version of Sergeant Rock, because in the original Nick Fury stuff, he wasn't a super spy of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was just an army guy, and for war comics. And Sergeant Rock was, I think, the same thing there. It says Sergeant Rock represents the epitome of DC's oftentimes overlooked World War II comics. He led Easy Company into every major battle of the European War. He's, I think, like cigar chomping, gruff and grizzled, and always first into a battle kind of guy. I don't have much on Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, so he's just basically a regular guy that's done fantastical things.
I don't even know that they've used him in fantastical ways. Even I think he just when DC did war comics back in the 50s, because the superhero stuff wasn't all over the place back then as much as it became in the 60s, but so you had war comics, you had Western comics, you had stuff like that. So he was just I think the front runner for their war comics. So like if it was a movie, John Wayne would probably have played him. Maybe
Gotcha.
I don't know.
So he's just like an epic figure for
Yeah.
the military.
Yeah.
It's been in all these battles. And
it's probably someone you could.
on top.
I'm kind of surprised they haven't maybe brought back. Maybe find a way to reintroduce him as maybe a modern Sergeant Rock. I don't know how you really could, but
We'll just say he's the predecessor of G.I. Joe.
yeah, I would say G.I. Joe probably owes a lot to Sergeant Rock. That's probably pretty true.
And Sergeant Slaughter, for that matter.
Yeah.
From WWF or WWE, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I have never heard of that character at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that getting recreated as like a thorn in the side of a superhero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like the Hulk's got that general.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Thunderbolt Ross. Yeah.
Thunderbolt Ross. Oh gosh. But yeah, I mean, I could see him being like the grizzled military guy that doesn't like these super powered, fancy technical suit guys doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But he's not a bad guy either. He's
Mm-hmm.
just set in this is how things should be.
Yeah,
kind
he'd
of
be
thing.
that guy that's like he's so gung ho in the military that like he's probably been I've seen it in maybe I'm thinking of Heartbreak Ridge, the Clint Eastwood movie, where it's like you could have been a general by now, but you've passed up all these promotions because of your attitude, and he's constantly getting drunk, getting into fights, and he just likes being a soldier. He's just that kind of guy.
Okay.
So I think that's probably what this guy's kind of all about. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Should we want to call it there?
Yep. Let's call it there.
Okay. Pretty good lineup. Some recognizable people, and
we stayed in the back half of the 100, but
yeah,
I knew who they were.
Yeah.
Except for the last one, but
right. Yeah. So yeah, we'll end things there. And I guess that'll do it for this one.
Yeah.
So we will be back with Batman: Mask of the Phantasm pretty soon. And until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.